And welcome everybody to the April 13th Library Committee. We're going to start off with the minutes for the March 9th meeting. I didn't see anything to be changed. Good. All right, we're good. We're going to start out with the library director's report.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. We have a very active year right now so far. This period of time always seems like 8 million things are going on at the same time. But the first thing I wanted to refer to was our 2022 annual report. Every year that is up for approval. I did review some of the statistics at the meeting the other day, but our year in review numbers are really impressive. Our in-person visits increased up at 30%. We have close to 25,000 borrowers, 995 on-site programs. You know, it goes on. We are just really back up to where we were prior to the pandemic. So it's been a great year, and we're very excited to be able to provide the services that we do. But one of the things that we always have to do is we have to have the annual report approved. It does go up to the state prior to this, but it's all the numbers that are pulled from the Catskill Library System databases, and then all of the programming numbers are numbers that our staff keep up with all year long. So I would need the board to accept the 2022 New York State annual report.
So that's going to be on the next agenda on Tuesday. Okay.
Can you please send an right up later? Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay. The next thing is we always create the Newburgh Free Library calendar after the school district.
Just have a point of
Am
clarification.
I going the right way?
Yeah, no, I just have a point of clarification. So for 2.2, there isn't a report that was attached for the annual report. Is that what Mona's pushing forward? What resolution?
There
Is it
an
this
annual-
one?
That should be the annual, that's the annual.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just have to have a resolution of that. Okay, thank you.
Sure. We create our calendar based on the district calendar, as close as we can. But you know, we have different hours. So this is the 2023-24 proposed calendar. And as closely aligned as possible with the school district. So we would need to have approval to move that forward.
So this goes on
So just
Tuesday's
one,
agenda as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have your annual training on here?
Yes, actually, this is for next year. We don't have the date, the staff development for next year. But this current year, I would like to make sure that we're able to do our May training, and we did have to adapt the date. We're looking at May 19th from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock to close the library. We don't have any events scheduled. But for this next year, we could actually put the dates in for the staff development. We usually do one in October and one in May.
Okay.
I can do that. I
So
don't know.
Mr. Stritter, are you suggesting that she add that for approval, so it's just done, or?
I don't think I know the exact date yet, right? You're thinking about that date.
We don't have the exact dates for 23-24, but
We'll
we
wait on that.
do have one next month that we would like to be able to close the library from 1 to 5 on Friday, the 19th of May.
So that's a solid date.
It's a solid date.
So that one should go.
Yeah.
So then that one we need to put forward for approval for that date.
Yes.
Okay.
The whole calendar.
So just
Yeah.
the calendar.
And-
I have 2 resolutions so far.
Yes.
Okay.
But the calendar needs to be revised for May 19th, right?
No, the calendar that you have is for next year, is for next fiscal year, 23-24.
Oh,
I'm
you're
just
talking
asking,
about this May.
the May 19th for this one, yes, we have a change in the date that we had originally proposed, of
Gotcha.
May 5th. May 19th is the date that works best.
So that's a third resolution.
Yeah, but that's not on here. This is
Yeah.
next
Okay,
year's
so 3
calendar.
resolutions.
So next year, no resolution change. This is the way that it is. And then we need to do a calendar change for this year for the May 19th date.
Yes.
So we've done the rest of it.
Well, we've never put those dates on there necessarily, but we can add them. We haven't put the staff development days on there. But we can do that for this term.
Okay.
This coming year.
Do you know the date for the upcoming year? Yeah.
Okay.
Just leave it like this for now.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is fine. This is fine, yeah.
Okay. Budget referendum.
Okay, we went through the budget at the board meeting on Tuesday. Didn't know if anyone had any questions or concerns or suggestions. It was important in this respect to, because we're coming out of COVID, to really show that the numbers and that we are really back to pre-COVID times. We are suffering without having the town branch, of course, but we do have a lot of people from the town coming to our main library since we closed at the end of December. But we had some great highlights and numbers for this coming year, so try to reflect that in our budget for next year. And we are going to be doing an RFP for E-rate in the coming month as well. So I guess it's really not for an approval from the library committee if the board has already approved it and told.
Hello, I'm
Hi,
sorry.
Eric, how are you? Good to see you. You're fine. Thank you.
So we've already approved that.
Already approved it, so.
From the town branch.
A great town branch update. We are, we've got feelers out. We are making appointments, looking at different places, and one of the things and one of the reasons why, as I mentioned in the budget presentation the other night, that we had budgeted for renovation and furniture is these locations that we're looking at are not going to be what we walked into 10 years ago with a ready-made bookstore. So these are pretty much open spaces that need paint, and they're going to need shelving, and they will need some construction of furniture, desks and whatnot. So that is a 100% commitment, as I mentioned the other night, for us to get a new town branch. Right now, I'm in conversation with them all to at least move our book deposit back into a space, like potentially by the coffee shop, so that our town branch residents can deposit their books there. And then we just have to work on some kind of a pickup and pickup of the books and bring them back to the main, just for convenience factor in the interim. And since people are already used to using that space, we would, just the process of putting our book drop back in there.
Are there some attractive spots out there with reasonable rents, or are we?
They're expensive.
Yeah.
They're expensive. We would end up paying market rate unless we could find somebody who is willing to take it down a little bit. And so it's not easy, but I'm determined, and we'll find something good.
Strategic planning focus group results.
Yeah, so I'd attached both the documents here, and I'm going to let Ben take this one.
Yep. So we've been working with consultant Dr. Barbakoff of CoLab Capacity to refine our strategic plan. We have 5 goals that we outlined: service, facility, outreach, staff, and support. Way back in the frigid, icy days of February, we had these 2 town halls. We got a tremendous amount of feedback. And the upshot is the recommendations at the end of this report here that was attached. But really, looking at our services, I think an emphasis on making connections and growth and expansion into the community, working with members of all of the diverse communities of Newburgh, working with all ages, children, elderly, different languages, and focusing on our Spanish-speaking community. In terms of our facilities, really focus on sort of innovation within and without the library, looking at maker spaces, pop-up programs, even banning about the idea of a bookmobile, these sort of stopgaps while we don't have a town branch. But people also express the need for, old school library space, quiet spaces of study, maybe small tutor spaces, places for concentration and active collaboration. In terms of outreach, again, really just different avenues of communication we can explore. We have like an e-newsletter, but maybe a print newsletter was one idea that came about. And just sort of cementing our bonds within the community. We have a community engagement team now, but sort of leveraging that to make tighter partnerships within Newburgh. And, you know, finding out what their needs are and bring them to the library. In terms of staff, really just investing in our staff. And you know, doing a sort of assessment of the staff, like what their skills are now, what we might be able to train them on to get them up to speed to serve the community. And lastly, support. You know, I mean, the big thing is where's the money going to come from? What are the budget impacts? Are there grant funding opportunities out there? You know, I know in the town hall breakout group I was in, somebody brought up the idea of like a foundation perhaps for the library. So where's the money going to come from to sort of impact and create these changes that we're seeing? But it was really, it was fantastic because I think it really kind of gave us the roadmap for how to move forward and to continue on with the strategic plan and guide us. So.
It was very much in alignment with the plan.
Yeah.
That, the draft that was created internally and reviewed by the community. So we were, very incredibly supportive area. And
anecdotally, it was like my first like day on the job.
Yes.
Before I started, I went to the town hall. But just such positive feedback from everyone in the community about the library. It was really awesome. So.
Did you have any thoughts on what folks came up with? Were there any surprises or questions? Because
the bookmobile has been.
I know.
Every time I see the auction for the buses,
Yeah.
you can get a bus for
Like
you
a
know,
partridge
10 grand.
family kind of a thing.
Yeah.
There was one thing that jumped out at me, that was it. It was like
It's just converting,
Right.
and that could be a good project for the high school students.
The P-TECH kiddos.
That would be
There you go.
awesome.
It's a combination of P-TECH and the auto.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, the rents are still high.
That
That might be
Yeah.
a real possibility because rent is no joke right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But
money
that was the desire was that all the areas of NECSD be serviced and accessible. And so the physical space was an attraction for sure, because people they liked the place that we had there. It was very comforting, it was very welcoming. But also the opportunities to do something creative and innovative, like pop-ups and being in different locations was really, you know, spoken about in many of the different groups.
The idea of a maker space, it said, is that like for crafty kind of kids and stuff?
No, I mean, it's actually STEM related. I mean, and actually Kelly's group does this
So
every day.
it can be both. It can be more low tech, low key makerspace where you're working with Connects and Legos.
Yeah.
You know, just simple physical art.
Is good with this.
To something more high tech where you're actually using the computer, it's called computer aided design, and you're using CAD programs to print something to a 3D printer.
Oh, so, okay, that's cool.
And I'm
So our
wondering,
kiddos are actually making keychains this afternoon in the after school program with our RITF works in the after school program, and he is teaching them how to use all of that technology to make these keychains. Where last week they were doing low tech, they were building a car out of Legos. You know, but it's all still that design thinking and, you know, the digital literacy piece of it that's so crucial to these
it's
kids.
interesting that came out because that's what we're doing in our school. So it was interesting that it came out in their survey because that's what a lot of like the 21st Century and Empire programs are doing in district. So I thought that was interesting that the kids want to do that or have the access to that, you know, in the public library.
Maybe the stuff going on in the school's got them a little sparked and they're like, you know, I need some spare time.
Yes.
If I could come to the library and do it, maybe that's something.
Maybe be more self-directed maybe too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great benefits of working together is that the kids can, you know, are learning different skills and programs throughout the day. But then in the evening and on the weekends and during the school breaks, they can also work on these projects at the library. So
And we definitely want to leverage that partnership
Oh,
with you
totally, yeah.
guys, with the Newburgh Armory as well. They have a beautiful technology program that I got to visit a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where the children are learning programming, they're doing the low tech hands-on with the Legos, but they're also learning how to build a computer. They're learning how to create computer games.
Wow.
And that's what we want to work towards.
But we picked up and balance it out because we serve everyone, all ages.
Right.
And so like our computer classes and our new tech hub are incredibly popular. That room is completely filled. These students are all levels and they're learning all different skills. And this will go on throughout February, to the end of February of next year. But yeah, and to a person, I had a fellow stop me in the library the other day and he said, want to tell you that I'm taking these tech classes. And he said, I just have to speak so highly of the instructors. The fact that I feel like I'm in a comfortable environment because I feel very apprehensive about taking classes. I don't know a lot of technology. And so I don't want to be embarrassed. He said this whole environment has been so supportive and the instructors are great and having access to the technology is wonderful. So it was really great to hear that because
And that's
we're
a big
hearing
reason, I'm sure, why adults that aren't tech savvy don't ever get tech savvy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because they feel like
because
they're gonna go into a class, it's gonna be a bunch of kids, or
Right.
or
Right.
kids are gonna be
Who know
smarter than they
everything.
are, or it's
Right.
gonna be an intimidating space.
Yeah.
if you have a chance to look at the news coverage that we received, that's it's attached to my report, actually. We had two Channel 12 reporters cover different aspects of what we do, but they spoke with some of the students and they went through the program and what the advantages are and what these folks are gleaning from this, and it was really impressive. So the pride that people have, especially when they feel like they can't do it, and then they're learning the process, and then all of a sudden they take these tests, these assessments, and they find out they got a 95 or an 88, and they're beaming. And these are grown adults, and they're in a world now where if they don't have these marketable skills, they're really stuck.
You're building their confidence to build their prosperity for themselves and their family, and that's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want good jobs for people. And that's also part of this tech program is aligning the graduates with businesses that are looking for people with technology skills and matching them together. Huh?
Yeah.
So, do we need the strategic, I know, so we had brought up the strategic plan a couple of months ago, prior to the community input. What is the next step for getting board approval of
So
that?
the next step now is that you're gonna need another resolution for that. I think before, the last thing that was asked was that there was a community forum,
Mhm.
which you did put that, you did have that last piece of it. So,
Okay, so for this,
yeah, that has to be another.
will these
resolution.
resolutions be for next Tuesday, or are we talking about May? What's realistic to you? I want to know how quickly I want to
No,
get it.
it would probably be the
Deadline was
first,
Wednesday.
yeah, it'd be the first,
If
it's gonna be the May meeting.
That's right, because they were already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
It
So
would be
I'll
the
make
May
sure
meeting.
these get to you on time.
We have construction update.
Okay, so we have Eric Wilson here from Calgy, and he's part of our construction management firm, and we have a couple of change orders for the new project.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here today. I love this room. I think last time we were in the auditorium, this is a beautiful view.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here with you today. So I don't know if you guys were able to see the change orders in advance. There were two of them.
Yeah, they were listed
Just
separately.
tell me which one it is. I
Those
don't.
were not them. They were on the Google forms that were in the email.
They're
as
pretty
well.
straightforward. I can walk you through them pretty easily.
No.
Both of the change orders,
Whatever, I don't know. Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's fine, no problem.
Well, I thought, because I did see them on one of the documents that you had, so I thought they were just gonna come up separately. They're Google sheets, so it came out under a different attachment.
Okay. Both change orders we're just talking about are electrical change orders. And they're fairly small in terms of the size and scope of the work. The first one is electrical change order number 3, which has to do with 2 additional phone lines for the local history room, which weren't in the contract documents, which were requested during the course of the project. So this is the electrical portion to run Cat6 data cables to those 2 locations. There's conduit installed and there's ceiling removals that were done. The cables were snaked through the walls. Excuse me, this one did not have conduit, excuse me, that's a correction. Snaked through the walls, down the ceilings, and installed in the space where you guys requested those to be located. So that work was done actually in September, and so it's been a little while getting that finalized and approved. With that work, there was a removal and reinstallation of several smoke detectors and one carbon monoxide detector. So the full work actually occurred on several different days, but it was 2 men involved from the electrical contractor, who's Bertolo Electric, and the total hours is 8 hours. So the material costs consist of the cable itself, which is about $300 for the Cat 6 cable. And then the cost for the labor, 2 men, 8 hours, about $90 an hour, which is the prevailing wage rate for electrical work, comes to $14.72. So that comes up with the overall cost. And then there's overhead and profit for the electrical contractor per contract. So that's added onto that. So the total amount of that change order is $2,037.80. Any questions on that one before we move on? We can always go back to either one if I'm done. The second one is very similar. That's EC change order number 4, which is for modifications to provide buttons outside both of the bathrooms. If you recall, when we talked about this previously, they weren't operating the way that was intended. And the architect had to specify additional hardware to operators to make them function fully the way that we wanted them to function. So this is the electrical portion of that work to install conduit to the locations where the wiring would be run, both of those buttons on each toilet room. Again, similarly, it is 2 men for 8 hours, the $14.72, the same rate. And then the material costs are broken down in the change order for MC cable, which is a type of conduit that is flexible, that's run typically in concealed spaces, and then the fittings associated with those connections, and then the wire itself is about $270. So that $270 plus the labor rate puts us about $1,743 plus overhead and profit. It's a little bit small on the other one at $2,005.31. So it's a little bit less than the first one. So both of them together are about $4,100 or $4,050 approximately for both of those. And as far as the contracts are concerned, these are the last change orders for electrical contract. We're ready to close them out. We also have completion of all the other contracts in terms of the basic scope of construction work is done for all the projects. So we're at the point now in the project where we're in the process of reviewing all the documents and closing out all the contracts. If you recall, we've been waiting for the final doors and some final finished items in those spaces to make them fully complete in anticipation of our ribbon cutting in 2 weeks from today. So we're excited to be at this point. It's longer than we were all anticipating for this little project, but it's a beautiful space. Both are beautiful spaces, and I think we're really pleased at how it came out. You guys are enjoying the use of those spaces.
Yes, we'll use.
If you have any questions?
Those 2 change orders will be on in the May meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
I requested access. I didn't have access to it. That's why.
they're in the email. They're
Yeah.
attached as emails.
I have no access. I just request this. So if you approve it, then I can do it for the next.
Okay.
So that's gonna be for the May meeting, and we're gonna need another resolution for that as well.
And then these, we are, the resolution that we provided, for the budget for this year, the referendum to enable us to access the fund balance to complete phase 1. I just wanted to give you some background information. So on the, if you go back to the award allocation, just to where we go. So this is how RCLS around Catskill Library System, where the Department of Library Development funds are filtered through. This is how they are presented to us. We are one of the top 3 libraries there that receive a good chunk of change because these funds are based on school lunch programs. And but one of the challenges that we have is what library's coming up with what project. And so just as we started this process, New City decided to build and expand their library. So they're in there for a good bit of funding each year now for the next couple of years. So Our allocation is a little bit less than it normally would be. We're always eligible for 75%, but based on the numbers of projects and the money that the state allocates to RCLS, this is how they divvy it up. They like us, so they're always giving us the extra money that comes from the state, which it generally always does each year. So we were able to finally bring our award up to 31% of what we had requested, 31% of the 931. And so we will, when this project is completed, receive a reimbursement of $291,328. We've received 90% of that when the project is completed, and I take all the pictures and send it, close the grant, we'll get the remaining 10%. But one of the stipulations of these construction aid applications is that whatever we project as the cost is what we have to spend. And so we came in a bit under on this project. So it will cost us the amount that we put in the referendum with the $243,350 to complete this application. And then if you look at the next page, the next document attachment. Backup. The backup document is right here. That is just an explanation of that. So we applied for that. We received, we've paid 688 so far. We have a balance of 243,250. And then the final sheet that's attached there is the project that we want to complete, and it's microscopically printed out there. And that's going to cover most of those funds, but with change orders and things, I'm sure it'll be pretty close to the 243. But basically what this is, when we amend the application, it has to be something that is associated with the project that we originally applied for. So what this is a workroom for local history, so that documents and supplies and our digitization and interns, all of that can happen off-site of this nice new room that we have, which is primarily for study and research. And so that's going to be adjacent to the current space. And we're reallocating some staff work areas. So that's the project that we hope to complete this whole phase one with, hopefully by the end of this year.
And this has already been presented and brought to facilities committee, so they are aware, and
Yeah.
CHR also did a presentation there as well.
Yes, Tom presented.
That's gonna be that space back to the left of the,
Yeah, if you're
Where the
looking
room
at
is.
the local history resource center now, there's like a little hallway, and then there's a room off to the left. And so a portion of that room is going to be created into a pretty sizable workspace. We'll be able to incorporate some of the city's historical documents in there as well. And this way we can start to consolidate some of these great collections that we have and have them readily accessible. The other history programs in the area are all volunteer run. So it all depends on when someone is available to share the documents. And so Mary McTavish who's the city historian, would like to have documents more readily available to people through the library.
Does your library end up getting those history documents from other areas that are not able to maintain them properly? It seems the collection is pretty complete down there, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and we are working on the acceptance policy of what
Right.
we're going to
Mhm,
take.
yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about what you've been working on with that?
Yeah, so I mean, if we have an acquisitions policy, we really want to come up with sort of like a mini strategic plan for our archives, right? And I think what Mary Lou's speaking to is like, we have funded staff, and now we have this beautiful room where we can actually handle these things. A lot of organizations, they just don't, so they're left to molder. No one knows how to access them. So they're essentially become hidden collections. So what we're trying to do, local history collections for public libraries are really the crown jewels of your collections. We're really trying to let that shine. So we have the staff for it, we have the collections, and now we're gonna have the space. So I think hand in hand, we're gonna start developing these policies to acquire more documents. But you have to process them, you have to create the finding aids, you have to upload, and the last step you do is digitization, so then they can be found, on the web. But that's the goal. That's the plan, is to have like a really robust, world-class, or at least state-class collection here at Newburgh, because we're already on our way.
And without this space, we really have no additional room to store a lot of new collection. We have plenty for what we have. We have some room to grow, but this will really enable us to work with Mary to incorporate some.
Yeah, it's really as you build it, like they will come. So it's like, we'll have the space, people will look, they'll seek us out now, you know, because they know we'll have the resources. Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you a little background on our construction project and we wanted to invite you, have a number of flyers and materials at your seat. And Ben, if you want to talk a little bit,
Yeah.
National Library Week is coming up in the end of this month.
Yeah, so end of the last week of April is National Library Week. All the flyers they handed out, just give you a sense of everything that's always bubbling up at the library. You know, from you know, Latin American poetry programs to, you know, new streaming services that patrons can now avail themselves of. But the big thing here is we're gonna have a ribbon cutting on Thursday, April 27th at 11 a.m. And that's going to sort of unveil Tech Hub or the Hub and the local history room. You can see on the adult programs calendar here, in the local history room, it's really gonna be an open house. It's something you don't often get in a local history collection because archival collections are controlled. But Heather and Siobhan, the librarians down there, have been doing a tremendous job to pull materials out so people can finally see them, quote unquote, lay their hands on them and interact with them. They've pulled a lot of material to tell the story of the library itself, which sort of dovetails with National Library Week. You get to see the old Hotel Palatine that was here, the decks they had that looked out over the river. You can see, you know, what Broadway looked like at the Hudson Folk celebration, draped in American flags. So it's just so cool because you're really inhabiting the space. So I'm looking forward to that. And we're gonna have a bevy of programs just throughout the week, as we always do, just kind of highlighting, you know, the library work we do here. So I invite all of you to come if you can make it on the 27th at 11. If you can't, also just stop by the local history room. Heather and Siobhan will be happy to walk you through this space.
And then on Saturday, the 29th.
Right. Yeah.
We've got Big Family Reading Day. It's a program we're working in collaboration with the district and got a whole host of music and food and entertainment and.
There's gonna be a mariachi band.
Yeah, they were great. They had a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll get that beautiful weather we had last time.
Right.
Last time at this year, last year at this time it was freezing. And when we had Family Reading Day, it was 80 degrees and sunny and everyone was like, yay, this is great. I don't think we'll have that same enthusiasm next year. But it'll be a wonderful event. Please do come, even if you just have a few minutes to stop in. But we did want to share these materials with you because often, you know, and as we were just talking before, Mr. Lamar, we don't know what, you know, people don't know all of the scope of what we do.
There's no way they do.
Well, you
There's just so much.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
Excellent. So please do share it. And if you ever want us to present anywhere, we are happy to do that also.
So the weekly went out, I think the invite has already gone out, but we can re-put it in the weekly for the ribbon cutting. I think that went up like 2 weeks ago, but for the
I can email
the
that.
family reading night, we'll put that in the weekly again for the
Okay.
reading day.
Okay.
And I guess we can re-put out the ribbon cutting as well.
Do you use any other social media besides Facebook?
We do. We have Instagram as well and our website. We
TikTok?
no, we had someone doing TikTok, but we haven't used it a lot.
Not sure
We do have a teen
if
Instagram.
the district has any policies on TikTok. As long as they don't have any
No,
policies. it probably reaches
the
all-
library's under.
Well, and the Instagram, we do use Instagram,
We use
so we
Instagram.
do have a teen
Yeah.
focused one, so we share all our teen materials through there.
We've reviewed I think we've reviewed like in the fall different things that of what can go in there. I know, I didn't sit with you, but I sat with the
Okay.
previous assistant director. But it's been in accordance to what just our policies around promotion.
Okay.
It's just promoting events and different things, which is a part of the library policy. So we can review, but they're in alignment.
Yeah, weirdly enough, TikTok is huge in the book world. You know, it's called book.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Really?
yeah. Some authors make their whole career just through a TikTok recommendation.
I have students that come to me often and ask for a book that they saw on a book talk.
Right.
I would have never thought
Yeah.
that would be
Wild.
what TikTok
That's
is
what I'm saying.
being
If,
used for.
if you can get
Adult literacy.
the library onto TikTok.
Good use case.
Yeah.
And, it might reach a segment that.
I guess everybody's limited to the fact that kids were shorter attention.
Library will go viral.
So library week, when is library
Info.
week? Exactly.
Give it to them that way.
Last week of April.
Yeah,
Last week of
last week
April.
of April.
Is anything happening at the schools to celebrate library week?
So we are sandwiched. Unfortunately, National Library Week is sandwiched in between our state tests. So we are coming off the ELA test the week before and going right into the math state test the following week. So we actually do our literacy events later on in May after the hubbub of state testing has died down. But we are doing a very similar, a literacy day at our schools. We are bringing in authors at all the various schools celebrated on different days. But I know speaking for Meadow Hill, of course, we have 2 authors coming to speak to the different grade bands, one for pre-K through 2 and one for 3-5 and another for 6-8. So we do have a couple of local authors that are going to come in and speak to the kids. They have literacy-based scavenger hunts. There's a whole bunch of activities that they're going to be doing, so it'll be a lot of fun. We're also trying to promulgate all the amazing things that they're doing at the Newburgh Free Library. Mary Lou was kind enough to provide me with a link to their newsletter, so I can send it out to the school librarians and we can publish it into our Google Classrooms so that the students know a little bit more about these programs. Unfortunately, for some of our students, access and travel is a problem. They don't have transportation to get here. So of course, when that town branch opens up, it's going to be
That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Do
super
you get the
helpful for them.
view, the newsletter, the digital newsletter?
Definitely.
Okay, great. Wanted to make sure of that.
But yeah, so Mrs. Caroline gave me a super easy link to put right into the Google Classrooms and we can share it a little bit more. And I put it out yesterday and today I had 5 students come up and ask me, Mrs. Grady, what is this?
What we can do is also for the digital newsletter and communication, just have that link. We can also put that in the update so everyone can just be aware on the board that there is a way for you to get that monthly newsletter and subscribe to it.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for this.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And the CFD media specialist.
Okay, so.
That was the segue.
So we're not celebrating that specific week. We're not celebrating National School Library Week because of the sandwich in between the state testing. But we are all going to have our school literacy days throughout the month of May. But again, bringing in authors and different literacy activities to coincide with that. We are doing different projects to promote digital citizenship and digital literacy. One of the ones we're working on right now is teaching students about graphic design and design thinking by creating book covers. So my students currently got to look at a current cover of a novel from 1970 called Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And of course, they sing a lot of that through Book Talk. There's a movie coming out on the 19th. So they're very excited about that. When I showed them the current cover, it looks like Margaret, the main character, is texting with God. So when I showed them the cover, I said, just ballpark, Price is Right rules. When was this book published? Then I had to explain what the Price is Right was. Once they got it, they all said within the 2000s, and they were shocked to learn that the book was published in 1970. And then I showed them the original cover. So they started to really understand the power of digital literacy and graphic design as a career choice. So we're trying to tie in that STEM piece and that career development piece with that. One of my 8th graders found out as he was leaving today that he is going to be going to the P-Tech program and was jumping up and down and spinning his mother around and I think he's going to be a graphic designer. So I'm very excited to hear about that. Yeah. Another program that we're also going to be doing is we're having a little competition amongst the book cover creators and kind of like a March Madness bracket type situation. And, the winner for the school win, a prize like the school store or something like that. What was the other one? Trying to think. Oh, sorry, a bookmark contest. So we're having our students creating bookmarks, promoting literacy and digital literacy. And again, it will be a contest type situation. I'm working very closely with our ITF, Mr. Reagan. We set up a template and we're going to pass that out to all the different schools. And if they want to participate in that, of course they can do that. Horizons on Hudson is also participating in a grant that they received, which I believe it's gonna start at the end of the school year, but I'll have more information for that at the next meeting.
And if you want to, have a public display of the
Yes.
bookmark designs, please think of the library.
We would love
to put them out.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be fun.
How do you choose the authors for the presentations? Like, how do
I let the students choose them. So they basically can choose, I want them to choose their favorite book or a book that really had an impact on them. And they are allowed to choose anything from picture books to novels they've read in class to a novel that they've read on their own. The only thing that I ask them not to choose are graphic novels, just because of copyright issues. And that also brings in the digital citizenship piece with copyright infringement, and that they understand that it is actually breaking a law to steal somebody's copyrighted work. And, you know, I explained to them that I doubt very much that somebody's going to come and prosecute a sixth grader, but you have to be aware of it going forward, because that's the environment that we live in. They need to be good digital citizens, and they can't just plagiarize and help themselves to other people's work just because it's available freely on the internet.
You can also ask them to use ChatGPT to create a book cover for this book.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll take
Mhm.
about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They are actually, Turnitin is an app that works with Google Classroom to detect not only plagiarism, but they also just put in an add-on to detect
AI.
like AI and
The digital
ChatGPT.
tag.
Yeah. mhm.
Yep. Mhm.
I'm not sure when that, I think it's coming out next week. Yeah.
It's kind of in conjunction with Adobe.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's it.
Wonderful information.
All right, great. Don't forget to go through the report. It does tell you like what's our most popular library of things, items, and our museum passes and things of that nature. So, and the links to the coverage that we received on channel 12. So,
Thank you very much.
excellent. Thank you, everybody.
See
Appreciate it.
everybody in May.
Or next Tuesday. Oh, well,
That's, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.